Look at a map of West Africa. This vast region, stretching from the Atlantic coast to the arid heart of the continent, has long been a crossroads of cultures, trade, and conflict. But today, it's the stage for a dramatic new chapter in African history. One that's sending shockwaves far beyond its borders. In the heart of the Sahel, a semi-arid belt that bridges the Sahara and the savannas to the south, a new bloc has emerged. One that's rewriting the rules of power and allegiance. This is the so-called coup belt, a region now defined by its defiance and its determination to chart a new course. Spanning Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, these nations have been rocked by a wave of military takeovers. Their leaders, once seen as rebels, now stand united by a shared vision to break free from the old order and pursue radical change. For many, these coups are not just power grabs, they're a response to years of frustration, insecurity, and unmet promises. In a bold move, these countries have severed ties with traditional partners and formed the Alliance of Sahel States, or AES. This alliance marks a seismic shift in African geopolitics, signaling a desire for self-determination and a new, regional identity. The signing of the AES Charter was more than a diplomatic gesture. It was a declaration of intent to reshape the future. The AES stands as a direct challenge to the post-colonial order that has dominated the region for decades. Military leaders have torn up old agreements, expelled Western armies, and called for an end to foreign interference. Their message is clear: the era of outside control is over, and the people of the Sahel will decide their own fate. Their rallying cry is absolute sovereignty. Across the capitals of Bamako, Ouagadougou, and Niamey, crowds have gathered to celebrate what they see as a new dawn. National flags are raised high and military parades showcase a newfound pride and unity. For many, this is a moment of hope, a chance to reclaim dignity and control. Yet the stakes could not be higher. The Sahel is one of the world's fastest-growing regions with a booming population and some of the deepest poverty on the planet. It's also a battleground, plagued by relentless extremist violence, displacement, and humanitarian crises. The challenges are immense and the risks of instability are ever present. Now the AES proclaims, "We will do it ourselves." They are betting that independence from Western influence will finally bring security, prosperity, and dignity to their people. Local security forces are being trained, and leaders promise a new era of African-led solutions. The world is watching to see if this bold experiment can succeed where so many others have failed. As this revolution unfolds, the eyes of the world are fixed on the Sahel. Is this the dawn of a new era of African empowerment, or a leap into deeper chaos? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The story of the Alliance of Sahel States is just beginning. Military coups are woven into West Africa's history, recurring since independence in the 1960s. Often, army officers justified takeovers by citing corruption and government failure, disrupting fragile democracies. Colonial borders fueled ethnic tensions, while post-independence governments failed to deliver progress, deepening instability. The military, often the only organized national force, saw itself as the state's guardian. ECOWAS, the regional bloc, tried to stop coups with sanctions and threats, but its inconsistent responses eroded its credibility. Many saw ECOWAS as protecting a corrupt status quo rather than defending democracy. This disillusionment set the stage for a new wave of coups, ones that would openly defy ECOWAS itself. The ground was fertile for rebellion. The story of the Alliance of Sahel States, or AES, began in August 2020, when the world's attention turned to Mali. In the heart of West Africa, a nation long plagued by instability, the military seized power in a dramatic coup. The streets of Bamako erupted with both anxiety and hope, as citizens watched history unfold before their eyes. Mali's military ousted its president amid scenes of public celebration. For many, it was a moment of relief, a break from years of frustration and disappointment. The people, weary from endless cycles of violence, corruption, and foreign intervention, saw the coup as a chance for a new beginning. Years of violence and corruption had left Malians desperate for change. The military promised to restore sovereignty, rebuild national pride, and end the era of French dominance in their affairs. The promise of reclaiming control over their own destiny resonated deeply with the population. In response, the regional bloc ECOWAS imposed harsh sanctions, hoping to force the junta to back down. But the new leaders stood firm, refusing to yield to outside pressure. Their defiance sent shockwaves across the region, inspiring others to follow their example. In neighboring Burkina Faso, the spirit of resistance caught fire. Two coups rocked the country in 2022, each one toppling a government seen as weak or too close to foreign interests. Captain Ibrahim Traoré emerged as a new face of anti-French, pro-sovereignty sentiment, rallying crowds with promises of security and self-determination. The dominoes kept falling, and the region watched as the old order began to crumble. By July 2023, the wave of change reached Niger. The Presidential Guard, frustrated by persistent insecurity and a lack of real independence, overthrew the government. The people of Niamey poured into the streets, some in protest, others in support, but all aware that the region was at a turning point. ECOWAS threatened military intervention to restore the ousted president, but Mali and Burkina Faso quickly declared their solidarity with Niger. The three countries, now bound by shared experience and mutual defiance, warned that any attack on one would be met with resistance from all. The message was clear. The era of isolated coups was over. The three nations drew a line in the sand. An attack on one would be an attack on all. Their unity marked a new chapter in West African politics. United by rebellion and a shared vision of sovereignty, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger formed a contiguous bloc stretching across the Sahel. This alliance openly challenged the old regional order, signaling a dramatic shift in power and influence. The world watched as the so-called coup belt took shape, a swath of territory where military leaders now held sway. Headlines declared the rise of a new power structure, and analysts debated what it would mean for the future of West Africa. The region's political landscape had been transformed almost overnight. Capitals across the Sahel buzzed with uncertainty, hope, and fear as the implications of this new alliance began to unfold. From defiance and upheaval, a new alliance was born, one that would reshape the destiny of West Africa and challenge the world to reconsider its approach to the region. At the heart of these coups is a demand for sovereignty, control over security, politics, and resources. Anti-French sentiment runs deep. France's military presence, once welcomed, is now seen as neo-colonial and ineffective. The juntas framed their coups as anti-colonial liberation, making the expulsion of French troops a wildly popular move. Their promised security where elected governments had failed. Villages had suffered massacres, and vast areas slipped from state control. The military projected strength and order, vowing to restore dignity and safety. For many, this was more compelling than democracy. Leaders like Captain Traoré became icons, seen as patriots answering their people's call. This popular support empowered the juntas to resist international pressure and build a new alliance. Security is the AES's foundation. The Liptako-Gourma Charter binds the three nations in a collective defense pact. An attack on one is an attack on all. This was a direct response to ECOWAS's intervention threats after Niger's coup. The AES expelled foreign troops, ended Western security agreements, and closed the UN's Mali mission. Now their own armies and a new joint force lead the fight against insurgents. The alliance is building a 5,000-strong joint force, able to pursue threats across borders. They've also turned to new partners, especially Russia, for training and support. The AES's legitimacy rests on delivering security where others failed. Everything else, politics, economics, takes a back seat to this existential fight. The AES isn't just a military pact, it's building a new political union. After leaving ECOWAS, the three nations are creating shared institutions, starting with a joint biometric passport for free movement. They're integrating economies and infrastructure, abolishing roaming charges and promoting a shared Sahelian identity. Pan-African rhetoric and cultural policies reinforce this break from the colonial past. The vision, a confederation with coordinated policies and integrated structures. Elections are postponed, security comes first. For now, the alliance's future depends on the unity and resolve of its military leaders. Economic sovereignty is the AES's boldest ambition, a vision that seeks to rewrite the rules of engagement for Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. For decades, these nations have operated within a system shaped by colonial legacies and external control, but now, they are charting a new course toward self-determination. The CFA franc, still tied to France, is widely seen as a symbol of lingering colonial influence. Critics argue it restricts economic growth and keeps West African economies dependent on Europe, limiting their ability to set their own monetary policy or respond to local needs. The AES now aims to break free by introducing a new currency, the Sahel. This bold move is about more than just money. It's about reclaiming economic identity and building a financial system that reflects the region's unique aspirations and challenges. To support this transformation, they've launched a regional development bank designed to fund critical infrastructure and empower local businesses. This institution is meant to be a catalyst for growth, channeling resources into roads, energy, and technology. By investing in their own future, the AES hopes to lay the groundwork for true monetary independence and sustainable development, reducing the need for foreign loans and outside intervention. The ultimate goal is a self-sufficient economy, one where local farmers, entrepreneurs, and workers can thrive without relying on imports or foreign aid. This vision means reducing dependence on Western institutions like the IMF and World Bank, and forging a new path that puts African interests first. Resource nationalism is at the heart of this strategy. AES governments are renegotiating mining contracts, determined to keep a greater share of their gold, uranium, and other mineral wealth within their borders. By asserting more control over natural resources, they hope to fund schools, hospitals, and infrastructure, ensuring that prosperity benefits their own people. But the risks are high. The path to economic liberation is filled with uncertainty, and the consequences of breaking with established alliances are profound. These landlocked, impoverished nations risk isolation by leaving ECOWAS. Trade barriers could rise, imports may become costlier, and inflation could threaten the livelihoods of ordinary citizens. Funding ambitious projects without Western aid is uncertain, and the loss of international support could stall progress on vital infrastructure. Yet, the dream of economic freedom remains powerful. Across the Sahel, people are inspired by the hope of a future where they control their own destiny, but the journey is fraught with danger. Political instability, security threats, and economic shocks could derail these ambitions at any moment. The stakes couldn't be higher, for the AES, for West Africa, and for the dream of true economic liberation. The AES is more than a series of coups, it's a radical rejection of the old order. The promised security, sovereignty, and dignity, free from colonial shadows. But violence has worsened, and the humanitarian crisis is deepening. Economic isolation and resource nationalism threaten to backfire. The pivot from France to Russia may simply swap one foreign master for another. The coup belt stands at a crossroads. Will it inspire a new African model or spiral into deeper conflict? Only time and the resilience of the Sahelian people will tell.